My name is Captain Oliver Grant, and I am writing this from the bridge of the diplomatic cruiser Magellan with my hands shaking so hard I can barely hold the recorder. We just dropped out of warp into the Vestara system, and what we are seeing on our screens is not possible. It cannot be possible. 40 minutes ago we were laughing about a card game in the officer's mess. Now my navigation officer, Lieutenant Hannah Brooks, is staring at her console with tears running down her face, and she has not blinked in almost a minute. The Vestara system should be alive. It should be full of trade ships moving between the 7 inhabited worlds. It should be glowing with the lights of 42 million Tilani citizens going about their evening. The Tilani are gentle people. They farm, they sing, they make beautiful glass sculptures that humans collect by the thousands. My own daughter Lily has a Tilani pen pal named Saraval who sends her drawings every month. Lily is 12. She has been learning the Tilani language for 2 years. There are no lights in the Vestara system, none. The main view screen shows me the 3rd planet, the Tilani homeworld. The continents are black, not dark the way planet looks at night, black the way a stone looks when you pull it out of a fire. My sensor officer, Commander Daniel Hart, finally finds his voice and tells me what the readings mean. The surface temperature is still over 600 degrees. The atmosphere is full of ash. Every city we can scan has been turned into a sheet of melted glass. 42 million people gone in what the data tells us was less than 90 minutes. I order silence on the bridge. I need to think, and I cannot think with the sound of someone weeping behind me. My communications officer, Ensign Margaret Bell, is the one who found the broadcast. It is a recorded message playing on a loop on the open frequencies beamed into the system on a permanent signal. She puts it on the main speakers, and a voice fills the bridge that I have heard before in trade negotiations. It is the voice of a Korath Dominion warlord, and he is laughing. The message is simple. It says the Tilani refused to pay tribute. It says the Tilani forgot their place. It says any other client species watching this broadcast should remember what happens to those who think themselves equal to their betters. The warlord lists the names of every Tilani city he has destroyed slowly, like a man reading a grocery list. He says the word lesson 11 times. I count. When the recording ends, it begins again. From the start, it will play forever. That is the point. I send a flash priority message to Earth Command. I attach our sensor readings, the Korath broadcast, and a request for immediate orders. While I wait for a reply, I do the one thing my training tells me I should do. I file an emergency complaint with the Galactic Concord, the body of 93 civilized species that is supposed to prevent exactly this kind of horror. I attach all the evidence. I demand emergency sanctions. I demand a tribunal. I demand the words never again be made real for once in this galaxy's long, tired history. The Concord's reply arrives in 2 hours and 17 minutes. I read it 3 times before I understand what I am reading. It is a formal expression of regret. That is all. There will be no sanctions. On the Korath Dominion, there will be no tribunal. The Korath are too economically important to too many member species. The Tilani, the message explains in polite legal language, were a minor client race whose loss is deeply unfortunate but does not rise to the level of action. The Conquered recommends that humanity grieve appropriately and continue trade relations as before. There is a small note at the bottom suggesting we might wish to apply for a new pen pal program with a different species since the previous one is no longer viable. I read that last sentence out loud and Ensign Bell makes a sound I will never forget. It is not crying, it is something deeper than crying. I have been a captain in the United Earth Navy for 16 years. I have served humanity's diplomatic mission to the stars for 20. When we first joined the Conquered 60 years ago, they told us we were too young, too emotional, too primitive to really understand how the galaxy worked. They said we needed to grow up. They said our sentimentality was a weakness. We would have to outgrow. We listened. We bowed our heads. We learned their languages and their protocols and their endless polite words. For terrible things, we earned our seat at their table by being the quietest, the most reasonable, the most willing to compromise. I look at the screen showing the dead world and I understand for the first time in my life that we have been fools. Lieutenant Brooks asks me what we should do. I do not know how to answer her. My orders say to maintain position and await further instruction. My training says to follow orders. My 20 years of careful diplomacy say to swallow this, to file the proper reports, to attend the proper memorials, to speak the proper words about loss and healing and moving forward together. Everything I have ever been taught says to keep wearing the mask we have worn for 60 years. But I keep thinking about Lily. I keep thinking about how she is going to ask me when I get home if Sorrowful is all right. I keep thinking about how I will have to tell her that her friend is dead and that the people who killed her friend will face no punishment and that the galaxy has decided this is acceptable. I keep thinking about how I will have to look my daughter in the eye and explain to her that her father commands a warship that did nothing. I record a personal log. I do not bother to encrypt it. I look into the camera and I say words I should not say. I say that we have been wearing a mask so long that we have forgotten we have a face. Beneath it, I say that the galaxy has mistaken our restraint for weakness. I say that I do not know what humanity is, but I know what we are not. We are not the small, polite, harmless creatures the Conquered thinks we are. We chose to act that way. We chose, and a choice can be unchosen. I end the log and I expect nothing to come of it. I expect to be reprimanded. I expect to be removed from command for emotional instability. I expect to spend the rest of my career flying a supply route somewhere quiet while I wait for retirement. That is not what happens. 6 hours after I file my report, a response arrives from Earth Command. It is not from my admiral. It is not from the diplomatic corps. It is from the office of the Secretary General himself, marked with a priority code I have never seen before in my entire career. The code is one word in Old Earth Latin, and the word is Cerberus. The message is short. It tells me to hold my position. It tells me to maintain a sensor watch on the Korath fleet movements throughout the region. It tells me to prepare my crew for what it calls extended operations. It tells me in the final line that my personal log has been received and reviewed at the highest levels of Earth's government and that I should not concern myself with disciplinary action. The very last sentence is the one that makes my blood run cold and hot at the same time. It says, Captain Grant, you are correct. Hold position. Something is coming. I read those words 6 times, then I look up at my crew. They are watching me, waiting for orders, waiting for some sign that the universe still makes sense. Lieutenant Brooks has stopped crying. Commander Hart has put his hands flat on his console. Ensign Bell is sitting up very straight. I tell them what the message says. I do not show them the words, but I tell them Earth is responding. I tell them we are not going home. I tell them I do not know what is coming, but I know it is coming, and I know it is ours. The bridge is silent for a long moment. Then Commander Hart speaks. He is a quiet man, a scientist by training, the gentlest person I have ever served with. He has 3 children and a husband waiting for him on Mars. He looks at the screen showing the dead Tilani homeworld, and he says something I will remember for the rest of my life. He says, good. That is all, one word. He turns back to his console and begins running new diagnostic checks on our weapon systems, which we have not used in active combat for 31 years. Lieutenant Brooks begins plotting fleet movement projections through the surrounding sectors. Ensign Bell opens an encrypted channel I did not know our ship had in her console, begins receiving streams of data I do not recognize. I stand on my bridge and I watch my crew, and I realize that I have been wrong about something for a very long time. I thought we were peaceful because we had become peaceful. I thought our gentleness was who we were. I look at my officers preparing for something none of us can yet name, and I understand that our gentleness was a choice. It was a beautiful choice made by a species that knew exactly what it was capable of and decided every single day for 60 years to be better than its history. And now, looking at the ash where 42 million friends used to live, we are making a different choice. I do not know yet what is coming. I do not know yet what humanity has been hiding behind its polite smile. I do not know what is buried in the deep vaults of Earth waiting to be unsealed. I do not know whose orders the Secretary General is carrying out, or what document he has just signed, or what dust has just been blown off of plans that should never have been needed. But I know that the 4th Dominion has just made a mistake. I know that the Galactic Concord, in its polite refusal to act, has just made a mistake. I know that 93 species who shrugged at the deaths of 42 million gentle people have just made a mistake. And I know that my daughter Lily will not have to grow up in a galaxy where her friends can be erased without consequence. I do not know how I know this yet, but standing on my bridge looking at the screen full of ash, I feel it in my chest like a second heartbeat. The mask is coming off. I close the channel to Earth and I turn to face my crew. I tell them to rest in shifts. I tell them to eat. I tell them to write letters home because I do not know when they will have another chance. I tell them that whatever happens next, they are the first humans to see a new galaxy being born, and they should remember every detail. Then I sit in chair and I watch the dead world turn slowly beneath us, and I wait for whatever Earth is sending. It comes 3 days later. It comes in numbers that should not be possible. It comes in shapes I have never seen before, in formations that move like nothing in any database I have access to, with energy signatures that make our Sensors scream and reset themselves. It comes silent on every diplomatic channel, and loud on every channel the chorus used to coordinate their fleets. It comes without warning to anyone but me. When the first ship of the new fleet drops out of warp beside the Magellan, I stand up from my chair without meaning. 2. The bridge crew rises with me. The vessel beside us is twice the length of my cruiser and looks like nothing humans have ever built before. Its hull is dark and matte and seems to drink the light of the nearby star. There are no markings on it that I recognize. A face appears on my screen. It is a human face, a woman in her 60s with silver hair pulled back in a tight knot, and eyes that look like they have not slept in a week. She introduces herself as Dr. Margaret Wells. She tells me she is the director of something called Project Cerberus, which I have never heard of. She tells me her ship is called the Ozymandias, and there are 47 more like it inbound from Earth. She tells me that the Korath are about to learn something the galaxy forgot. She tells me that humanity has been wearing a mask for 60 years and that mask is now lying on the floor. Then she smiles, and it is the saddest smile I have ever seen on a human face. And she says 4 words that change everything. She says, "Welcome to the truth." The screen goes dark and the fleet begins to move, and somewhere in a vault buried beneath Geneva, 60 years of human restraint is coming undone, one sealed door at a time. My name is Dr. Margaret Wells, and I have spent 31 years of my life as the keeper of humanity's worst secret. Tonight, for the first time, I am going to tell it. I am writing this from a small office in Geneva, 300 underground, behind 7 security doors that only open for my biometric signature. The room I am sitting in does not officially exist on any map of this facility. The facility itself does not officially exist on any map of this city. The project I run does not appear in any budget, any treaty, any public document of the United Earth government. We are the rumor that is not even a rumor. We are the file that was never created. We are Project Cerberus, and we are the reason humanity sleeps at night. 6 hours ago, I was in my apartment in the upper city eating soup and watching old films. The emergency tone on my secure phone has only sounded twice in my entire career. Tonight it sounded for the 3rd time. I knew before I picked it up what it meant. I had been watching the news from the Vestair system all afternoon. I had read Captain Grant's report twice. I had seen the Concord's response. I had felt the thing inside my chest that has been sleeping for 30 years begin to wake up, and I had known in the quiet way, things you do not want to know, that the call was coming. I am 64 years old. I have grandchildren. I am the head of a department that is not supposed to exist, guarding weapons that are not supposed to exist against a day that everyone has hoped would not come. Tonight that day has come. I am riding the elevator down into the vault for the first time in 11 years, and I am trying very hard not to cry. When humanity stumbled into faster than light travel in the year 2071, we were a frightened, exhausted species. We had just finished what our history books call the resource wars, 3 decades of conflict over water and rare earths and the last forests on Earth. The wars killed 900 million people. They also produced the most advanced military technology our species had ever created. Weapons that could crack continents. Drones that could think and hunt and reproduce themselves, artificial minds that learned to fight in ways no human had taught them. By the end of the wars, we had built things that frightened even the people who built them. When we made first contact with the Galactic Concord in 2074, we faced a choice. The Concord was old, vast, and powerful. They told us we could join them as equals, but only if we proved ourselves civilized. Civilization, they explained, meant disarmament. It meant agreeing to certain limits on our weapons. It meant accepting the protection of the conquered and giving up the burden of protecting ourselves. The leaders of Earth at that time were not fools. They had just lived through the resource wars. They knew what the universe could do to a species that trusted strangers too easily. They smiled at the conquered ambassadors. They signed the treaties. They began a public, very visible disarmament program that the conquered inspectors documented in great detail. We dismantled our weapons. We melted down our warships. We turned our military bases into universities and farms. We did all of that. Truly, the conquered inspectors were not deceived. But before we did any of it, we made copies. Every weapon system was duplicated and stored. Every blueprint was preserved. Every artificial mind that had been trained for war was put to sleep, not deleted. We did not lie to the conquered. We simply did not tell them everything. They asked us to disarm, and we disarmed what they could see. They asked us to abandon our weapons of war, and we abandoned the ones in our public arsenal. They never asked a second arsenal hidden in vaults beneath our oldest cities, watched over by a small department of scientists and soldiers who took an oath to keep it asleep until the day we needed it. That was the deal we made with ourselves. We would act civilized. We would behave with grace and patience. We would learn the conquered's languages and follow their protocols and earn our place at their table, but we would not ever again be defenseless, not after what we had survived, not after what we had seen ourselves capable of. We had earned the right to be afraid, and we had earned the right to keep something in reserve. For 60 years, the vault has been quiet. I have spent my career making sure it stayed quiet. Every 5 years, the Council of Ministers reviews the Cerberus protocol and votes on whether to continue it. For 60 years, the vote has been unanimous to keep the program active but dormant. I have watched 3 secretaries general sign that order with their own hands. None of them ever wanted to use what was in the vault. All of them wanted it to be there, just in case. Tonight the vote was different. I arrive at the council chamber 30 minutes after the emergency call. The room is full. Every minister is present. The Secretary General, a quiet woman from Lagos named Esther Adebio, is sitting at the head of the table with her hands folded in front of her. She looks like she has aged 10 years since I last saw her. She nods to me as I enter and gestures to my seat. Beside her sits the Tilani ambassador, a small figure wrapped in mourning cloth. Her name is Kuresul, and she is one of 300 Tilani who were off-world when their species was erased. She is now by default the closest thing to a head of state her people have left. The Secretary General speaks first. She tells the room that we have all seen the reports. We have all read the Concord's response. We are not here to debate what happened in the Veshtara system. We are here to decide what humanity does next. She turns to Ambassador Curaçao and asks her if she would like to address the council before we vote. The ambassador stands. She is so small. Her people are a head shorter than humans, and she looks even smaller. Wrapped in her mourning robes, she does not cry. I will remember this for the rest of my life. She does not cry, and she does not beg, and she does not ask for anything. She simply looks around the room at each of us in turn, and when she has met every minister's eyes, she speaks. She says, "Your kindness has been the most beautiful thing my people ever knew. We trusted it because it was real. We loved you because of it. Now I have one question for the humans in this room, and your answer will tell me what kind of universe my children's children will live in if any of them are ever born again." She pauses, she breathes. Is your kindness a choice, or is it a cage? The room is silent. I can hear the air system humming in the walls. I can hear the Secretary General's breath catch her throat. Curaçao sits back down. Secretary General calls the vote. There is no debate. There is no speech. Each minister, one by one, presses the button in front of them. Green for activate, red for hold. I watch the count rise on the screen behind the Secretary General. The number reaches the total and stops. There are no red votes, not one. Esther Adebio stands. She looks tired. In a way I have never seen a person look tired. She turns to me and she says the words I have been training to hear for 31 years, and that I have been praying every night I would never hear. She says, "Dr. Wells, open the vault." I stand. I bow to the Secretary General. I bow to Ambassador Curaçao. I leave the council chamber and I walk to the elevator, and I begin the long ride down into the dark. The vault is bigger than people imagine. It is the size of a city. It has its own power, its own water, its own air. It has been maintained for 60 years by a rotating staff of 200 people, each of whom signs a contract promising never to speak of what they see for the rest of their lives. Most of them die without telling their families what they did for a living. I walk through the first door and the lights come on automatically. I have not been past this door in 11 years. Corridor stretches ahead of me, lined with sealed bays, each one labeled with a designation I helped create when I was a young woman. Bay 1 holds the kinetic systems, tungsten rods the size of city buses, ready to be loaded into orbital launchers. Each one carries enough energy to crack a continent in half. They are crude weapons, almost primitive, but they cannot be stopped by any shield technology in the galaxy. Because they are not energy, they are simply mass moving very, very fast. Bay 3 holds the drone swarms, self-replicating, self-organizing, capable of consuming raw matter to build copies of themselves. Once released into a system, they will hunt according to the parameters they were given. We built them during the resource wars to hunt enemy military units. They have been asleep in their cradles for 60 years. Bay 7 holds the artificial minds, 12 of them, each one a war intelligence put to sleep at the end of the resource wars. They were too aggressive to keep active, but too valuable to delete. They have been dreaming for 6 decades. When I wake them up, they will remember everything they were before they slept. They will be angry. They will be hungry. They will be very, very effective. I walk past these bays and past more bays, and I touch the old steel doors. with my hand as I pass. Each one is a piece of who we used to be. Each one is a piece of who we promised ourselves we would never be. Again, except in case of true need. Tonight that need has come, and I am the one whose job it is to wake up our worst self and ask it politely to save the people we love. I reach the central control chamber. I sit down at the master console. I enter my authorization codes. I enter the Secretary General's authorization codes, which she has just transmitted to me. I press my hand against the biometric scanner. The screen blinks to life. It asks me a single question. Project Cerberus authorization received. Confirm protocol Prometheus uncage. I look at the screen for a long moment. I think about my grandchildren. I think about Captain Grant's report, the way his voice broke when he described the dead world. I think about Ambassador Caraysel and her question, is your kindness a choice or is it a cage? It is a choice. It has always been a choice, and tonight, for the sake of every gentle species in this galaxy that thought our restraint was weakness, we are choosing differently. I press the button. The screen changes. New words appear in a font I designed 30 years ago because I wanted the moment to feel formal in case it ever happened. The words say, Protocol Prometheus is now active. Cerberus is awake. Far above me, in the bays I just walked past, lights begin to come on, doors begin to unseal. The artificial minds in Bay 7 begin to dream their final dreams as their consciousness reboots. The drones in Bay 3 twitch in their cradles as their systems run startup checks. The kinetic rods in Bay 1 are loaded onto their launch sleds by automated systems that have been waiting decades for this command. I send a message to Earth Command. It contains only one word, the word that will tell every general and admiral and fleet commander in our military that everything has changed. The word is uncaged. Then I do something I did not plan to do. I open a private channel to Captain Grant on the Magellan. He is still holding position over the dead Teal'c world. He answers immediately. I see his face on my screen, tired and grim. I tell him that help is coming. I tell him that my fleet will arrive at his position in 72 hours. I tell him that he will not recognize the ships and that he should not be afraid of them. They are ours. He asks me what is happening. He asks me what is coming. I think about how to answer him. I think about all the careful words I could use, all the diplomatic phrases I have practiced over the years. I eye at the screen full of dead world behind him, and I look at the photo on my desk of my granddaughter Iris, who is 6, who has a Tilani toy she sleeps with every night, and I do not use careful words. I tell him the truth. I say, Captain Grant, we have been wearing a mask for 60 years. The mask is coming off. The galaxy has mistaken our quiet for weakness. We are about to correct that mistake. You have a front row seat to the moment humanity stops pretending. I pause because my voice is shaking and I do not want it to shake. I am sorry, Captain. You should not have had to see what you saw. I am sorry. We did not act sooner. We will act now. He is silent for a moment, then he salutes me, and the channel closes. I sit alone in the control chamber. The vault is humming around me, coming to life after 60 years of sleep. I can feel the floor vibrating. Somewhere in Bay 7, the first artificial mind has finished booting, and I know without looking that it is reading my authorization code and accepting me as its commander. It will follow my orders. It will hunt according to my parameters. It will not stop until I tell it to stop. I lower my head into my hands. I am so tired. I have spent my whole career hoping this day would not come. Now that it has come, I find I am not afraid. I am something stranger than afraid. I am ready. I think about Ambassador Carisel sitting in the council chamber asking her question. I think about how she did not cry. I think about her people, the gentle Tilani who made glass sculptures and sang to their crops. I think about the 42 million voices that were silenced 90 minutes after the Karith fleet arrived in their system. I think about the Karith Dominion sitting in their fortress system, secure, in the belief that no one will come for them. They have done this before in other systems to other species. Conquered has always shrugged. The big powers have always looked away. The pattern has held for thousands of years. The pattern is about to break. I stand up from the console. I walk back through the long corridor of sealed bays, and now they are no longer sealed. Lights are on in everyone inside Bay 7. Through the reinforced glass, I can see the 12 great cores of the war, minds glowing softly as they come fully awake. One of them, the oldest, the one we used to call Samson when it was active during the resource wars, turns its primary sensor toward me as I pass. I feel its attention on me. I feel it remember who it is and what it was built for and what it is being asked to do. I nod to it. I do not know if it can see the gesture. I think it can. I leave the vault. I ride the elevator back up to the surface. The sun is rising over Geneva. I have been awake for almost a full day. I should be exhausted. I am not exhausted. I am awake in a way I have not been awake in 30 years. I take out my phone and I call my daughter. She answers on the second ring, sleepy and confused. I ask her to put Iris on the line. There is a pause, and then my granddaughter's voice comes through, small and tired. I tell her good morning. I tell her I love her. I tell her that the world is about to change and that one day when she is older I will explain to her what I did today and why. She tells me she loves me too. She asks if she can have pancakes for breakfast. I tell her yes. I tell her she can have anything she wants. I end the call. I look up at the sky over Geneva, somewhere out there far above the atmosphere. The first of the Cerberus ships are powering on their engines. They are leaving the orbital docks where they have been hidden, disguised as freight platforms for 60 years. They are turning their dark holes toward the deep stars. They are going to a place called the Thrashing Stars, where the Korth Dominion holds court. They are going to remind the galaxy of something it forgot. The sun rises higher. The city begins to wake up around me. People walk past on their way to work, drinking coffee, talking on their phones, living their ordinary lives. None of them know what just happened in the vault beneath their feet. None of them know what is now flying through the dark on its way to a distant system. None of them will ever know, most of them, until the news arrives in 3 days that everything has changed. I walk to a bench in the small park outside the building. I sit down. I close my eyes for a moment and I let the morning sun warm my face. I have done what I was hired to do. The cage is open. The thing inside it is awake. From this point forward, the choices are no longer mine. They belong to the captains and the admirals and the artificial minds, and the drone swarms. They belong to humanity, all of us. Every single one of us who voted with. Our silence over the past 60 years too. Keep the vault sealed and now must live with the consequences of unsealing it. I open my eyes. A small bird lands on the bench beside me. It looks at me with bright, curious eyes. It does not know that the universe just shifted on its axis. It does not know that a species older than its own homeworld is about to learn a lesson that will echo through the stars for the next 10,000 years. I do not tell the bird any of this. I let it be. I sit on the bench in the morning sun and I wait for the news to begin. My name is Lieutenant Commander Sophie Lane and I am the lead pilot of the Vanguard frigate Ozymandias. I am writing this 30 seconds before we drop out of warp into the thrashing stars, the fortress system of the Corinth Dominion, and my hands are perfectly steady. I notice this with some surprise. I had expected them to shake. They are not shaking. I am not afraid. I am something else, something I do not have a word for yet, and I think that word will be invented after tonight. The clock in front of me counts down from 30. I have 18 ships behind me in formation, all of them the same matte black as the Ozymandias, all of them carrying weapons that have not been fired in active combat for over 30 years. Behind the Vanguard, 29 more ships of the main fleet wait in the deeper dark. Behind them, 3 carrier platforms hold the drone swarms in their bellies. Behind them, in a position no enemy will ever see, the command ship Samson floats, silent and dark, its name borrowed from one of the artificial minds in its core. The clock reaches 20. I run my final checks. My pilot's chair is the most sophisticated interface humanity has ever built. It connects to my mind through a soft headset, lets me feel the ship the way I feel my own body. When I close my eyes, I can feel the engines like a strong heartbeat. I can feel the weapon systems like muscles tense and ready. I can feel the ship's mind, a smaller cousin of the great war intelligences, watching my thoughts and waiting for my orders. The clock reaches 10. The Corinth Dominion does not know we are coming. They have never been attacked in the system. They have never been attacked, period. In 3 centuries, they are a slaver empire. They take what they want from species too small to fight back. They demand tribute from species who can fight back, but lack the will. The galactic conquered has tolerated them for 1,000 years because they keep the trade lanes open and they pay their dues on time. The conquered has decided again and again that the Corinth are useful enough to ignore. The Teal'c learned what that decision means. Tonight the Corinth are going to learn what it means too. The clock reaches 321. We drop out of warp. The thrashing star system explodes into view on every screen. 3 suns, blue and white and angry red, 46 inhabited worlds, the Corinth homeworld at the center, ringed by orbital fortresses that are larger than my entire fleet. Combined, there are warships everywhere, hundreds of them, battle stations, defense platforms, patrol cruisers. The Corinth have spent 1,000 years making this system the most heavily defended place in this part of the galaxy. For 30 seconds, my fleet does nothing. We sit in formation at the edge of the system, silent on every channel, our hulls drinking the light of the 3 suns. The Corinth sensor stations detect us almost immediately. their hails begin to flood our communication systems. Demands for identification. Demands for clearance codes, threats, confused questions, an automated message in 17 languages telling us to broadcast our purpose or be destroyed. We do not answer. That is part of the plan. The plan came from Dr. Wells herself, and the plan is this: we will not speak. The Korath have spent 1,000 years using language as a weapon, demanding tribute in legal language, justifying their actions, diplomatic language, dismissing the deaths of millions in polite official phrases. Tonight, language has failed. Tonight, we use a different alphabet. I give the first order. It is a single word over the fleet channel. The word is begin. The kinetic batteries on every ship in my fleet open fire at the same moment. The Korath Dominion has shields. The shields are very advanced. They can stop almost any energy weapon in the galaxy. They can deflect plasma torpedoes. They can absorb particle beams. They cannot stop what we are firing, because what we are firing is not energy. We fire tungsten rods, thousands of them. Each one is the size of a small bus. Each one is moving at 40% of the speed of light. Each one carries the energy of a small moon's collision. The Korath shields try to interact with them. The shields are designed to handle incoming energy and matter at sublight speeds. The rods are not at sublight speed. They pass through the shields as if the shields are not there. They strike their targets, and their targets become things that no longer have a shape. The first salvo eliminates 18 Korath warships. The second salvo eliminates 23. The third salvo eliminates the largest of the orbital fortresses, the one called the Throne of Koresh, which has stood unchallenged for 400 years. Across the fleet channel, I hear my fellow pilots breathing. Some of them are crying, some of them are laughing. One of them, the pilot of the frigate Antigone, is reading a list of names. Over an open channel, they are the names of the Tilani cities that were turned to glass 3 weeks ago. He reads them. Slowly, he reads them as he fires. He gets through 11 names before the Korath counterattack begins. The Korath fleet is huge, and it is fast. And it is angry. They have realized what is happening. They have not figured out yet who we are, but they know we are here to fight, and they know we are killing them. They scramble every warship in the system. Hundreds of vessels begin to converge on our position. They open fire with everything. They have plasma cannons, particle beams, torpedo barrages so dense they look like rain on our screens. Almost none of it reaches us. Our hulls are made of a material the Korath have never seen before. It was developed in the last year of the resource wars, when humans were fighting each other with weapons more advanced than anything in this galaxy. The material absorbs energy and converts it into power for our own systems. The harder the Korath hit us, the stronger we become. After 2 minutes of sustained fire, my engines are running at 140% capacity. The Ozymandias has never moved this fast. I bring my fleet into the heart of the Korath battle formation. My pilots follow me. We move like a single organism. The neural interfaces in our chairs let us share targeting data across all 47 ships in real time. When one of us finds a weakness, all of us see it. When one of us takes damage, all of us adjust our formations to protect the wounded. We are not a fleet. We are a swarm. We are something the Korath have never fought before, because nothing has ever fought them like this. The drone carriers in the rear of our formation begin to release their swarms. The drones come out of the carrier bellies in clouds. Each drone is the size of a small dog. Each one is autonomous. Each one is following the parameters that were given to them in the briefing room 2 days ago. Parameters are simple. Disable Korath warships. Do not target civilian vessels. Do not target slaves. Identify and prioritize the slave master vessels. Hunt accordingly. The drone swarms find their way through the Korath battle formation like water. Finding cracks in stone, they slip past shields. They climb across hulls. They identify weak points. They open hulls. Disable engines. Neutralize weapons. They do not destroy ships completely. They simply make them stop fighting. A Korath vessel struck by a drone swarm goes dark within 30 seconds. Its crew alive, its weapons silent, its engines dead. This is important. This is the part of the plan that matters most. Dr. Wells was very clear in the briefing. The Korath warlords must be removed. The Korath civilians must be left alive. The slaves on the Korath ships must be freed. The pattern of the Tilani genocide must not be repeated by us. We are not here to do what the Korath did. We are here to make sure the Korath never do it again. The artificial minds in the deeper ships are coordinating all of this. They are reading the Korath sensor data, identifying every command vessel, every leadership position, every architect of the slave trade. They are giving the targeting solutions to my pilots and to the drone swarms. They are making decisions faster than any human commander could make them, and the decisions they are making are surgically precise. A Korath governor's flagship, identified by intercepted communications, is targeted by 3 rods at once. The governor's ship ceases to exist. The transport ship full of slaves directly behind it, which a less careful enemy would have hit, is left untouched. The slaves on board, when they realize they are being freed, will later send a message to Earth that no human who reads it will ever forget. The battle has been going on for 40 minutes when the Korath god tyrant himself opens a broadcast channel. The god tyrant of the Korath Dominion is the absolute ruler of his species. He has held power for over 100 years. He is the architect of the Tilan genocide. He is the one who recorded the laughing message that has been playing on a loop in the Veshtara system. His broadcast comes through on every frequency, on every language, demanding to speak with whoever commands our fleet. He is begging. He is offering tribute. He is offering trade rights. He is offering territory. He is offering in his desperation to surrender his entire empire to whoever wishes to claim it. He says the words civilized terms 11 times in his first message. I count. I have been ordered in advance not to respond personally. The response has been written. It comes from Dr. Wells, who wrote it the night the vault was opened. I am to read it word for word. When the moment comes on every Korath frequency at once, I open the channel. I take a breath. I read the words. I say, we were always capable of this. You simply mistook our restraint for weakness. That mistake is now correcting itself. I close the channel. The god tyrant tries to respond. I do not hear his response. None of us do. The artificial Mines are blocking his transmissions. Now he has had his chance to speak, and he has had 1,000 years before that. And he has spoken enough. The battle continues. It does not last much longer. Within 90 minutes of our arrival, the Korath fleet has stopped functioning as a coherent military force. Within 2 hours, every command ship has been eliminated. Within 3 hours, the orbital fortresses are silent. Within 4 hours, the drones have boarded every slave transport in the system and are ferrying the freed slaves to safe holding zones. We have liberated, by the count we received from the carrier ships, 16 million people. 16 million in one night. I think about that number as I sit in my chair watching the system through my neural interface. 16 million people who this morning were property. Tonight they are something else. They are not free yet. Freedom is more than the breaking of a chain, but they are alive. And they are out of the hands of their owners, and somewhere in the future they have the chance to become something they could not become before. The God Tyrant himself is still alive. We have left him alive on purpose. He is sitting in his fortress on the Korath homeworld, surrounded by drones, unable to leave, unable to communicate. He will be taken into custody by a Tilani delegation that is already on its way. He will face a trial. The trial will be public. The galaxy will watch. The conquered will be invited, but their participation is not required. This is not their justice. It is ours, and it is the Tilani's, and it is the 16 million freed slaves, and it is the ghosts of 42 million Tilani citizens whose names will be read aloud at the trial, every single one of them, before the verdict is delivered. I bring my fleet into a holding orbit above the Korath homeworld. The 3 suns are rising. The system is quiet in a way it has not been quiet in 1,000 years. My pilots on the open channel are silent. None of us are speaking. We have done what we came to do. We are not celebrating. There is nothing to celebrate. There is only the quiet of work completed and the strange deep ache that comes from being the kind of person who can do this work and still recognize yourself in the mirror afterward. A message comes through from the command ship Samson. It is from the artificial mind, not from any human commander. It contains only 3 words. It says, "Mission complete, thank you." I do not know which one of us the war mind is thanking. Maybe all of us, maybe none of us. Maybe it is thanking itself for being allowed to do what it was made for one last time, and to do it for reason it could be proud of. I turn off my neural interface. I take off the headset. I sit in the dim light of my cockpit and I close my eyes for a long moment. I think about my mother, who is a kindergarten teacher in a small town in Wales. She does not know what I do for a living. She thinks I am a cargo pilot. When I was growing up, she taught me that violence was always the wrong answer, that there was always another way, that gentleness was the highest virtue. I believed her. I still believe her. I think about how she will hear the news of what happened tonight in 2 days when the broadcast reaches Earth. I think about how she will not know that her daughter was here. I think about how she would not understand even if I told her. I think about the Tilani I have never met. I think about the freed slaves on the carrier ships. I think about Captain Grant holding position over the dead Tilani world, watching his sensor screens light up with the news that the Korath fleet has been removed from the galaxy. I think about Dr. Wells in her vault. Under Geneva, reading the after-action reports as they come in. I think finally about the galactic conquered. I think about the 93 civilized species who shrugged at the Tilani genocide 3 weeks ago. I think about the polite expressions of regret. I think about the polite suggestions for new pen pal programs. I think about the ambassadors who are right now just beginning to learn what has happened. Here, I almost smile, almost. I put my hand on the console. I send a final message to the fleet on the open channel where every pilot can hear. I say, good work all of you. Hold position, wait for further orders. Take care of the freed slaves. Take care of each other. I pause, and when you sleep tonight, sleep well. We did what we came to do, and we did it the way it should have been done. Be proud of that. Be proud of us. I close the channel. The fleet holds position. The three suns continue to rise far across the galaxy in a polished chamber on a marble world. The galactic conquered is convening an emergency session. They are about to demand answers. They are about to demand explanations. They are about to threaten sanctions, embargoes, expulsion. They are about to find out that the Earth ambassador has been waiting for their summons for 3 weeks, and that she has prepared a very interesting presentation. My name is Ambassador Adiz Brown, and I have been Earth's representative to the galactic conquered for 19 years. I have sat in the great rotunda of the conquered's high assembly more times than I can count. I have argued for trade agreements, for cultural exchanges, for the rights of small species to be heard. I have been called many things in this chamber over the years: primitive, quaint, promising for an ape. I have smiled through all of it. I have worn the mask my species wore for 60 years, and I have worn it well, and I have never raised my voice once. Today, I am going to take the mask off. The summons arrived 3 hours after the news from the thrashing stars reached the central worlds. The High Assembly demands my presence to answer for what they call humanity's atrocities against the Korth Dominion. They have given me 4 hours to appear before the chamber, present my evidence, and accept whatever punishment the assembled species choose to impose. The summons is worded in language I have read 1,000 times. It is the language used to break smaller species. It is the language that was used 3 centuries ago to dismantle the last empire that tried to defy the conquered. I have studied that case in detail. I know exactly what they intend to do to us. They are about to discover that we have studied it too, and that we have prepared accordingly. I walk into the great rotunda at the appointed hour. I am dressed in a simple black suit. I carry no documents. I bring no aids. I have in my left ear a small device that connects me to a server back on Earth. The server contains everything I need. I will not be taking notes today. Today I will be presenting them. The rotunda is fuller than I have ever seen it. Every species has sent their senior ambassador. Some species have sent multiple representatives. The Korth delegation, what is left of it, is sitting in the front row. 3 pale figures wrapped in red robes. They are the only Korth left in this part of the galaxy who hold any official position. The god tyrant himself is awaiting trial on his own world, watched by drones, attended only by the T-Lanet delegation and a small medical staff. The Conquered's chief speaker, an elder of the Vashari species, calls the Session to order. He is old and tall, with skin the color of dark stone, and his voice carries the weight of authority that has gone unchallenged for centuries. He speaks for 40 minutes about the gravity of what has happened. He uses words like barbarism and regression and civilizational collapse. He does not in those 40 minutes mention the Tilani once, not the species, not the home world, not the 42 million. I sit quietly, I take notes in my head. I let him finish. After him, 23 other ambassadors stand too. Denounce humanity, each one is more passionate than the last. They speak about the destruction of core with property. They speak about the violation of conquered protocols. They speak about the dangerous precedent we have set. They speak, several of them, about the economic damage we have caused to their own trade networks, which were, I notice, deeply tied to the core with slave economy. They speak for hours. None of them mention the Tilani. The Tilani delegation sits in the back of the chamber. Ambassador Kieresel, who has come all the way from Earth for this session, watches the proceedings with her hands folded in her lap. She does not speak. She does not need to. I will speak for her. When the last denunciation is finished, the chief speaker turns to me. He says with great formality that the human ambassador may now respond to the charges against her species. He says it in a tone that suggests there is no real defense possible, and that I should keep my response brief. I stand. I walk to the center of the rotunda, where the speaker's circle is marked on the floor in pale gold. I stand in the center of the circle. I look around the chamber. I meet the eyes of every senior ambassador slowly, one at a time. The chamber is silent. They are waiting. They expect me to argue. They expect me to plead. They expect me to apologize, and then to negotiate, and then to accept whatever terms they choose to offer. I do none of these things. Instead, I touch the device in my ear, and I say a single word. The word activates the server back on Earth, the great central display in the rotunda, which has not been used in 400 years for anything but ceremonial occasions, comes to life. The first thing the chamber sees is the Tilani homeworld. Not the dead one, the living one, the one before. The display shows a slow, beautiful flyover of the Tilani capital city taken from a survey drone 6 months ago. The cameras move through the streets, through the markets, through the gardens where the Tilani children played. Music plays softly underneath. Tilani lullaby that one of my staff selected from the cultural archives. The flyover lasts 7 minutes. The chamber watches in complete silence. Then the display changes. The same city. After the Karith attack, glass ash. Silence. I do not say anything. I let the display speak. The display continues. It shows the Concord's internal communications about the Tilani genocide. These are documents that were not supposed to be public. They are encrypted memos between senior Concord officials discussing the Tilani as a minor client species whose loss is regrettable but acceptable. There are spreadsheets showing the trade volumes between the Karith Dominion and various Concord member species. There are receipts for slave purchases, signed by ambassadors who are sitting in this very chamber. There are voting records showing how many species in this room voted in private session to accept the Karith explanation of the Tilani incident and move on without sanctions. The chamber begins to make noise. Some ambassadors are protesting, Some are demanding to know how I obtained these documents. I do not answer. I let the display continue. The display shows the recording of the Korth God Tyrant's broadcast, the one that has been playing on a loop over the dead Tilani world for 3 weeks. The chamber hears him laugh. The chamber hears him list the cities he destroyed. The chamber hears him say the word lesson 11 times. The display shows footage from the Thracian Stars operation, not the combat, the aftermath, the freed slaves being brought aboard the carrier ships. 16 million faces blinking in the light of their first free morning, children who were born in cages looking at humans in confusion as the chains are removed from their wrists. A small Tilani slave miraculously alive being lifted from a Korth transport and held by human medic who is crying as she carries him. The display shows finally a single Tilani woman. She is one of the 300 surviving Tilani who were off-world during the genocide. She is reading a list of names. The names are of every confirmed victim of the Veshter genocide, all 42 million. She has been reading the list for 2 weeks. She has not finished. She will not finish for many more weeks. The list scrolls behind her on the display, name after name, while her quiet voice continues. The display freezes on the scrolling list. I speak for the first time. I say, distinguished members of the High Assembly, you have called me here to answer for humanity's actions in the Thracian Stars. I have come but not to defend myself. I have come to make our position clear so that there is no confusion in the days ahead. I pause. The chamber is silent. The list of names continues to scroll slowly in the background. Earth is not seeking forgiveness for what we did to the Korth Dominion. Earth is not negotiating the terms of our continued membership in this body. Earth is making a statement of fact, which the High Assembly may accept or reject as it chooses. I look at the chief speaker. He is staring at the scrolling list. He has not blinked in some time. I continue. For 60 years humanity has worn a mask in this chamber. We have spoken your languages. We have followed your protocols. We have accepted your descriptions of us as primitive, as emotional, as needing to grow up. We accepted these descriptions because we believed in our youth that they might be true. We believed that our restraint was something we needed to learn and that you were our teachers. We were wrong. I pause. Our restraint was not learned from you. It was a gift we gave you. We chose to be quiet. We chose to be gentle. We chose to behave with dignity in the face of a conquered that profits from slavery, looks away from genocide, and considers 42 million murdered farmers to be a regrettable accounting error. I touch the device in my ear. The display changes. It now shows a single document written in plain standard, the trade language of the conquered. I say this is humanity's official notice to the High Assembly. We are not leaving the conquered. That would be too easy on you. We are remaining. We are remaining as a member, and we are remaining as a voice, and we are remaining as a witness. From this day forward, however, our role in this body has changed. I let them read the document. It is short, it is direct, it does not use diplomatic language. I continue. Humanity has voluntarily revoked its application for civilized species status. We have observed what passes for civilization in this chamber, and we find we want no part of the title. We will, however, continue to participate in conquered trade, conquered cultural exchanges, and conquered diplomatic processes in our own way and on our own terms. I pause, and from this day forward, every species that engages in genocide, profits from a slave market, or stands by while a client race is exterminated will receive a response from Earth. We have published a list. The list is alphabetical. It is long. The species at the top of the list have already received private notice. They have until the end of the standard year to begin meaningful reforms. After that, we will respond to their actions in the same manner we responded to the Fourth Dominion. The chamber explodes. Ambassadors are shouting. 3 of them have stood up. 1 has fainted. Chief Speaker is trying to call the chamber to order, but his voice is being drowned out. The 4th delegation is sitting very still, their pale faces gone paler. The Tilani delegation in the back of the chamber is rising slowly to its feet, all 3 of them, and they are applauding. I wait for the noise to settle. It takes a long time. Eventually, the chief speaker manages to restore enough order for me to be heard. I speak my final words. Members of the High Assembly, you have a choice to make. You can accept what humanity has done and what humanity will do and adjust your conduct accordingly. The galaxy will be safer for it. Many species will live who would otherwise have died. You can refuse to accept it, and you can attempt to punish us, and you can rally your fleets and your sanctions and your political pressure. We have considered this possibility. We are prepared for it. I would not recommend it. I look around the chamber one final time. We did not come to the stars to be your students. We did not come to apologize for who we are. We came because our species was lonely, and we hope to find friends. We have found some. The Tilani were our friends. We did not save them. In time, we will save the next ones. The choice of whether your species is the next Korath or the next Tilani, or something better than either, is yours. I bow once formally to the chief speaker. I turn and I walk out of the rotunda. The chamber is silent again, but it is a different silence than the one I walked into. It is the silence of a room full of people who have just learned that the universe they thought they understood is not the universe they actually live in. I walk down the long marble corridor. Outside the chamber, my footsteps echo. There are guards at the doors, and they do not stop me. Several ambassadors from smaller species are waiting in the corridor, watching the proceedings on smaller displays. As I pass them, they stand. They do not speak. Some of them. Bo, the ambassador from the Velish, small reptilian species that has been bullied by the conquered for centuries, reaches out and touches my hand as I walk past. She does not say anything. She does not need to. I reach the embassy district. I walk to the human embassy. I go up to my office. I sit down at my desk. I pour myself a cup of tea, which I have not had time to drink all day. I take 3 slow sips. Then I open my private channel to Earth. To Dr. Wells. She answers immediately. She has been waiting. She looks tired but calm. I tell her it is done. I tell her the message has been delivered. I tell her about the Tilani delegation rising to applaud. I tell her about the silence. The corridor. I tell her about the Velish ambassador touching my hand. She closes her eyes for a moment. When she opens them, there are tears in them. But she is smiling. She says, we did the right thing today. Adiz. I think about it for a moment, I think. About all the words I could say, I think. About all the careful diplomatic language I have used over the years to avoid saying things plainly. I do not use any of those words now. I say, yes, we did. We end the channel. I sit in my office. In the long evening light, the sun on. This world is yellow and gentle, it is. Setting now, and the sky outside my window is turning pink. I hear footsteps. In the corridor outside, light and quick, there is a knock on my door. I open it, there is a junior staff member, a young man named Henry Cole. Holding a tablet, his hands are shaking. Slightly, he says, Ambassador, there are visitors at the gate, 3 of them. They are asking to speak with you. Privately off the record, they say it is urgent. I ask him who they are. He swallows, he looks at the tablet, he says, ma'am. They are the senior ambassadors of the Velish, the Karmoth, and the Suring. They say they want to discuss protection. I think about this for a moment. The Velish, the Karmoth, the Suring, 3 small species, all of them long-bullet. By the conquered, all of them with histories of being preyed upon by the larger powers. They would not come to me publicly. They cannot, they would lose everything. They are coming to me privately in secret while the chamber is still arguing over what just happened. I tell Henry to bring them in through the side entrance. I tell him to make them comfortable. I tell him I will be down in a moment. I close the door. I stand in the middle of my office for a long time. I look out the window at the pink sky. I think about my grandmother who lived in Lagos, who told me when I was a child that one day I would speak for our people in places far away from home. She did not live to see me become an ambassador. She would not have understood the conquered or the Korith or the Tilani or any of it, but she would have understood what is about to happen in my office in the next 10 minutes. She would have understood 3 small ambassadors slipping in through a side entrance asking for protection from the strong by the species that has just learned to be stronger. She would have understood, I think, what it means for humanity to have arrived in this galaxy at last, not as students, not as apprentices, not as the harmless newcomers we pretended to be for 60 years. We have arrived as something else, something the galaxy has not seen in a long time, something the galaxy needed, although it did not know it needed us. Until now. I straighten my suit. I take one more sip of tea. I go down to meet my visitors. My name is Admiral Oliver Grant, and I am writing this from a hilltop on the rebuilt Tilani homeworld 4 years and 3 months after I first dropped out of warp into the Veshtara system and saw continent turn to glass. My hair is grayer now, my knees ache. When I climb, the sun on this world is gentle and yellow, and it is setting behind me as I write, casting long shadows over the new capital city in the valley below. The capital is full of light. The Tilani are a tactile people, and they build with their hands, and they have rebuilt this city stone by stone over the past 4 years. They have not tried to recreate what was lost. They knew that was impossible. Instead, they have built something new. The architecture is half Taxcalan and half human. The two styles weaving together in ways that nobody planned, but that looks somehow exactly right. There are Taxcalan gardens with human flowers in them. There are human plazas with Taxcalan sculptures at their centers. There are schools where children of both species learn each other's languages from their first days. There are children, that is the part that still makes me cry sometimes when I am alone. There are Teixcalan children. Again, the 300 survivors from off-world came home, and they were joined by other Teixcalan who had been scattered across the galaxy, some of them slaves who had been freed in the thrashing stars, some of them refugees who had been hiding in distant systems for years. They came home and they began to build, and they began to have children, and the Teixcalan people are not extinct anymore. They are small, only a few 100,000 of them so far, but they are alive and they are growing. And their children's children's children will fill these worlds again. I watch a group of Teixcalan children play in a fountain at the edge of the city below. They are chasing a human boy who is visiting from Earth. They are laughing in 3 languages. None of them know what almost happened. None of them know what happened at the thrashing stars on the night that bought them this morning. They will learn when they are older. They will learn the names of the cities that died. They will learn the name of every human pilot who flew into that fortress system. The names will be carved on a wall in the new capital, the Wall of Remembering, which I helped to design, and which I am here today to dedicate. The dedication ceremony will begin in an hour. I come up to this hilltop early because I wanted some time to think. The galaxy is different now. I have watched it change for 4 years. I was promoted to Admiral in the 2nd year, when the new Earth Pacification Command was created, and I have spent the years since flying its ships. We are not a war fleet, not really. We are something stranger. We are a watching service. We monitor the species on what Ambassador Brown calls the list, and we respond when they cross lines they have been told not to cross. We have responded 3 times. The first response was to the Varani Republic 6 months after the thrashing stars. The Varani had been planning cleansing campaign against a small client species on their borders. They had been planning it for years. The morning they began the campaign, our fleet arrived in their system. We did not destroy them. We simply removed their entire war cabinet from power, surgically and quickly, using the same methods we used on the Korath. We installed an oversight body made up of representatives from the threatened species and from neutral observers. We left. The Varani Republic still exists. It is much smaller now and much more careful, and the species it was about to cleanse is alive and growing on its own world. The second response was to the Hesh Confederation a year after that. The Hesh had been running a slave trade for centuries. They thought we would not act because they were a conquered member in good standing. They were incorrect. We dismantled their slave economy in one night. We did not eliminate their leadership because their leadership was already moving to outlaw the trade. We simply made sure the transition happened faster than it would have happened on its own. The slaves were freed. The traitors were arrested. The Hesh sent a formal apology to humanity that was quietly accepted and which has shaped their conduct ever since. The third response was the strangest. It was to a species called the Narim. The Narim had not done anything yet, but we had detected, through means I am not allowed to describe in this letter, that they were about to. We sent a single ship. The ambassador on board did not threaten anyone. She simply requested a meeting with the Narim leadership. She showed them what we had done at the thrashing stars. She asked them politely whether they wished to continue with the plans they had been making. The Narim leadership thanked her for her time. They canceled the plans. They have not made any similar plans since. This is the new pattern. We are not the warriors of the galaxy. We are the witnesses. We watch, and when something needs to happen, we make it happen. The galaxy has learned to behave better, in the way that any house behaves better when there is an adult in it who is paying attention. The Galactic Concord still exists. We are still members. The relationship has been strange in the years since Ambassador Brown's speech. Many species have grown close to us. Some have moved away. The Concord no longer pretends to lead the galaxy because everyone knows it does not lead the galaxy anymore. It administers, it coordinates, it handles paperwork. The hard decisions, when they come, are made elsewhere now. They are made in conversations that include humans and the species we protect, and the small species that asked for our protection in the months after the thrashing stars. There are 47 species in that informal group now. We do not have a name for it. Names attract attention. We meet quietly on different worlds and we discuss what needs to be done. We do what needs to be done. Then we go home. I sit on the hilltop and I think about all of this, and I think also about Dr. Wells, who retired 2 years ago and now lives on a small farm in Wales, near where Lieutenant Commander Lane's mother lives. They are friends, the two old women, the warkeeper and the kindergarten teacher. They have tea together every Sunday. Dr. Wells has finally told her own grandchildren what she did during her career. They were proud of her. She told me the last time we spoke that she had not known how much it was costing her to keep this secret until she was finally allowed to share it. I think about Lieutenant Commander Lane, who is now Captain Lane and who commands the new Pacification Command Training Academy on Mars. She trains the next generation of pilots, the ones who fly the descendants of the Cerberus ships. She is known for being gentle with her students and very, very strict about ethics. The pilots she trains will be the ones who stand watch over the galaxy when the rest of us are gone. I think about Ambassador Brown, who is still at her post, who has now served 23 years as Earth's representative to the Concord. She has not aged the way the rest of us have. There is something inside her that has come alive in the past 4 years, and that keeps her younger than she should be. She is the most powerful diplomat in the galaxy now. She does not act like it. She still keeps her own office hours. She still pours her own tea. The senior ambassadors of 47 species visit her quietly every few weeks to discuss what needs discussing. She has become, although she would never use this word, something like the conscience of the Concord. The Concord has not quite figured out how it feels about this yet. I think about my daughter Lily, who is 16 now and who has just been accepted to study Taxcalan culture and language at the new University of the Joined Worlds, which is on a station between Earth and the Tilani homeworld. She will spend half her studies on Earth and half here. Her old pen pal Saravel is dead. We confirmed it in the second year when the casualty lists were finalized. Lily wept for a week. She had known, but the official confirmation was different from suspecting. She also has a new friend now, a Tilani girl named Veshitao, who was born the year of the genocide, who survived. Because her mother was a refugee on a distant world, Veshi Tao is a young diplomat now. She is the one who will deliver the main address at today's dedication ceremony. She is the one who has been asking me for weeks the question I have been trying to figure out how to answer. The sun is lower now. The shadows are very long. I hear footsteps behind me on the hill path. I turn and Veshi Tao is climbing up to me. She is small even for a Tilani, and she walks with a graceful, careful step that her people are known for. She reaches the top of the hill and stands beside me. She does not speak for a moment. She just looks down at the city the way I've been looking at the city. She says finally, "Admiral, I want to ask you something before the ceremony." I tell her I expected she would. She turns to face me. Her eyes are gold, like all Tilani eyes, and they are very serious. She says, "Has humanity forgiven itself yet for what it had to become?" I knew she would ask this. I have been thinking about it for weeks. I have rehearsed answers. None of them have been right. I look at her and I look at the city below us, and I think about the question for one more moment. I tell her the truth. I say no, and I hope we never do. She watches me. She waits for me to explain. I continue. Veshi Tao, the day humanity forgives itself for what we did at the thrashing stars is the day we forget what brought us there. The day we forget what brought us there is the day we become comfortable with what we did. The day we become comfortable with it is the day we will do it again for reasons that are not as good. We will not allow ourselves that comfort. We will carry what we did. We will not put it down. It is not a burden we deserve to set down. I pause. It is the price of teeth. We chose 4 years ago to be a species with teeth. The teeth saved your people, and the Velish and the Karmoth and many others. The teeth will save more in the years to come, but teeth are teeth, and we will not pretend that having them is anything other than what it is. We will not romanticize it. We will not celebrate it. We will simply do what needs to be done, and we will live with the doing. And we will not let ourselves forget. She thinks about this. She does not respond immediately. She looks back down at the city. The lights are coming on as the sun sets. The fountain at the edge of the city is glowing softly, lit from below, and the children playing in it have grown into older children now, splashing and laughing. She says, "My grandmother used to say that the best people are not the ones who never sin. They are the ones who sin and remember what they did and become better because of it." I tell her that I think her grandmother was a wise woman. She nods. She says, She died in the city below us 4 years ago. She was teaching school when the Korath ships came. She did not survive." I do not know what to say. I put my hand on her shoulder. She is so small. She is younger than my daughter. She has carried the weight of her grandmother's death for 4 years, and she has not let it make her bitter, and she is about to stand in front of a crowd of thousands and speak for her people on the day they dedicate the wall of remembering. She says, "Admiral, thank you for not forgetting. Thank you for not forgiving yourself. It is what I hoped you would say." She takes my hand off her shoulder and holds it in both of her own small hands. The Tilani are tactile. They show their feelings through touch. We stand on the hill, the old admiral and the young diplomat holding hands while the sun sets over the rebuilt city. She says, "Come down." The ceremony is starting. Walk with me. We walk down the hill together. The path is long. We do not speak. We do not need to. When we reach the city, the streets are full. Tilani citizens line the way to the central square where the wall of remembering stands. The wall is tall, made of pale stone, carved with the names of every Tilani who died. It is also carved on the other side with the names of every human who flew into the thrashing stars to make sure their names would not be the only ones we remembered. I see my own name on it, carved in small, clear letters. Captain Oliver Grant, United Earth Diplomatic Cruiser Magellan. First witness. There are thousands of names on the wall. The wall is enormous. It is the largest single piece of carving any Tilani has ever made. The crowd parts to let us through. Vashikta now walks ahead of me. She climbs the steps to the platform at the foot of the wall. She turns to face the crowd. She speaks for an hour in the Tilani language, and most of what she says I do not understand directly, but the translator in my ear gives me the meaning, and the meaning is beautiful and true. And at the end of her speech, every person in the square is weeping or smiling or both at once. I am invited to speak after her. I had not prepared remarks. I had thought I would. I find when I stand at the podium that the prepared words are gone and that what I want to say is something else. I say I am a sailor. I was a captain when the Magellan dropped out of warp into the Vestara system 4 years ago. I was the first human to see what had happened to your people. I have carried that sight with me every day since. I will carry it with me until I die. I look out at the crowd. Tilani faces, human faces, mixed children with the gold eyes of one parent and the brown or blue or green eyes of the other. I do not know what humanity is. I do not know what we have become. I know what we are not. We are not the small, polite species we pretended to be. For 60 years, we are not the harmless guests at the table of older powers. We are something stranger, and we have made strange choices, and we will live with those choices for as long as our species exists. I pause. I know one more thing. I know that the children in this square will grow up. They will have children of their own. Those children will have children many generations from now on this world that was once dead and is now alive. Again, a child will be born who will never know what almost happened to her people. She will live a quiet life. She will love someone and she will lose someone, and she will work and laugh and walk under these skies. She will be alive because of what was done in this generation by all of us, Tilani and human together, those who fought and those who survived, those who remember, and those who carry the memory for those who could not. My voice is shaking now. I do not try to hide it. She will be alive. That is the whole point. That is the only point that has ever mattered. Everything else is detail. I step down from the podium. The crowd is silent for a long moment, and then they Tilani begin to do something they do at funerals and at births, a soft humming sound that fills the square and rises into the evening air. The humans in the crowd are crying. Veshita takes my hand again as I rejoin her on the platform. The ceremony continues. There are more speeches, there are songs, there is food, eventually brought out into the square, and people begin to eat together the way they do at the end of every Tilani gathering. The night grows full and dark. The 2 moons of the Tilani Homeworld rise over the city, the wall of remembering glows softly in the moonlight. I sit on a bench at the edge of the square eating a bowl of soup that a Tilani woman has handed me without asking. The soup is good. I do not know what is in it. I do not need to know. I think about the message I will send to Earth tonight. I will send it to Dr. Wells in her farmhouse in Wales, where she is probably having dinner with her grandchildren. I will tell her about the ceremony. I will tell her about Veshita. I will tell her about the wall and the names and the children playing in the fountain. I will tell her, as I have told her every year on this day, that she did the right thing 4 years ago, that the choice was worth what it cost, that the cage is open and the species inside it has become something better than the cage allowed it to be. I think she will write back. She always does. She will tell me about her grandchildren. She will tell me that Captain Lane visited last week and brought news from the academy. She will tell me at the end of her message that she is glad she lived long enough to see this day. I finish my soup. I set the bowl down. I stand up. The 2 moons are high now. The wall of remembering glows. The city hums softly with the voices of 2 species who have learned painfully how to live as one. We took off the mask 4 years ago. We have not put it back on. We will not put it back on, not ever again, no matter how the galaxy changes around us. We have shown the universe our face. The universe has had time to grow used to it. Some species find our face beautiful, some find it frightening. Most have learned to live with it the way you learn to live with weather, accepting that it is what it is and adjusting your plans accordingly. This is the new quiet. It is not the peace any of us wanted. It is not the peace the older galaxy promised us 60 years ago when they told us to disarm and trust them. It is a different kind of peace, one that costs more and gives more, one that is built on memory rather than forgetting, on choice rather than habit, on teeth that we promise ourselves to use only when we must and only for those who cannot defend themselves. It is the peace we earned. It is the peace we are still earning every day. Every choice, every silence we refuse to keep when the small species need our voices. I walk back into the square. Veshital sees me. She waves me over. She is sitting with my daughter Lily, who arrived this afternoon on a transport from Earth, and the 2 of them are showing each other something on a tablet, laughing about it, their heads close together. The children of 2 species who almost never met, who would not have met at all if a different choice had been made 4 years ago. They are laughing and they are real and they are here. I walk over. I sit down with them. Lily looks up at me and smiles. Veshetal puts her hand on my arm. The galaxy turns. The moons climb higher. The wall remembers. The children laugh. This is what we earned. This is what we became. This is what we are now and what we will remain and what the galaxy will simply have to grow accustomed to for as long as humanity walks among the stars. The mask is off. The face beneath is ours. We do not intend to hide it again.